Hey YouTube, thanks so much for visiting us here with Cooking with G-Dubs, and I'm your host G-Dubs. And what I'm going to cook for you today is beef ribs. And it's a simple recipe, but it takes a long time to cook. But if you prep it right, season it right, you don't have to worry about anything, because at the end it'll be so delicious and scrumptious that your family and yourself are going to be going crazy, because it's going to be absolutely delicious. All right, so without further ado, let's get to it. I would like to introduce you to all of the ingredients that we have. And it's a total of 7 different things, all right? What I have for you is I have ketchup, I have mustard, salt, my Épís, my Worcestershire sauce, some soy sauce substitute, and garlic, all right? Just to give you some more, I used some store-bought organic ketchup, and I have my yellow mustard, and then I have our Himalayan salt, and I love this because it's a lot better for you health-wise. And I have my Épís, and this, the way I make this, if you check out my page on my YouTube channel, I have a whole video that I demonstrate how I make this, and it's very good, it's very delicious, and it's all fresh herbs. And what I have in this concoction right here is I have cilantro, parsley, red onions, rosemary, thyme, basil, bell peppers, and I use the red, the green, the yellow, and the orange, and I slice them up, and I use it at different increments, and I put it in here. And then I also have cloves, ginger, garlic, olive oil, balsamic vinegar, and water. And we liquefy all of it, and we come up with this. And then as you see here, this is what it looks like, all right? It's really, really nice and delicious. It gives your food a great, great flavor, so you don't have to use a bunch of powders. And what we have here is I have some, at our local grocery store, we have some natural, all natural, organic garlic that's already minced up, so that'll help save you on some time. If you don't want to use the chopped garlic, you could chop it yourself, or you could use the ready, the organic. And I prefer that because then, you know, it doesn't have a bunch of, as they say in French, produits chimiques in it, or some nonsense, you know, that's natural and organic. And I have and this brand, I love this, it's called Coco Aminos, and it's a soy sauce substitute for those who have soy allergies. This is a great, great option for you. And then of course we have our Worcestershire sauce. All right, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna combine all of our ingredients and make our marinade. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the marinade and then we're gonna put it on our meat, all right? So, before I go into how we mix it, this is our beef ribs. And what I did is before I put our seasoning in it, I wash my meat. And the way I wash my meat is I take the meat out of the package. Then what I did is I trimmed off as much of the fat as possible. Then after I did that, then I put about a half a cup of white vinegar on the meat, and then after I did that, I massaged it really well, and then I used hot tap water, poured it over it, and then I mixed it again, and I did that about 3 times to get a lot of the residual drippings off of the meat, and then also it cleans it up and get a lot of the surface bacteria off of it. So that's what we did. All right, so in case you was thinking, what's the quantity that I use? Right here, I have a half a cup of ketchup. I have also, with the Worcestershire sauce right over here, I use a 1/4 cup of the Worcestershire sauce. I use a tablespoon of mustard, which is what I have right here. And then I use 1 whole tablespoon of minced garlic. And I also use a 1/4 cup of the Coco Aminos. And I use a half a teaspoon of salt, which is what we have here. And I use 2 tablespoons of the Épís. All right, you got it? But don't worry, if you didn't catch it right quick, then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna write it down in the description. So check out the description, and it's gonna have all the amounts on there, so that way you could do the same thing that I'm doing. All right, and right here I have 4 packs of the beef ribs, and that we're gonna use, all right? So without further ado, without too much more talking, let's get to it. All right, so now we're going to start off by taking our Épís, put it in our bowl. Then we're going to take our Worcestershire sauce, our cocominos, or salt. Then we're going to take our mustard. So this is kind of sort of making like a barbecue sauce, but you're going to see it's going to be worth it. Then we're going to take our ketchup. And I've learned a long time ago that when you're making a really good dish and you're making some really good meat and you're baking in the oven, you really don't have to put any sauce on it at the end when you're done. A really good meat, whether it's beef or pork or whatever, when you make some barbecue, you don't have to put any sauce on it afterward. All right, that's when you do it really well. So now we have our marinade, and let's mix it up together. We're going to whisk it up together really well. And then once we beat it, then as you know, have you seen in our other videos, we gotta taste it, right? To make sure we have enough. Perfect, perfect. This is really, really good, okay? Now we set this to the side. Now what we're gonna do is, I have my broiler pan, which is right here, and I'm gonna take I already put some non-stick cooking spray inside of it. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my ribs, place it inside. And what we're gonna do is I'm gonna take my spoon and we're gonna generously put, we're gonna coat it on both sides. We're gonna rub it really well. And we're going to flip it over and do the other side. And we're going to do a really good, nice, generous job with it. Flip it back, and when we're done, your meat should look like this. All right? So you know it's nice, well coated. Then you take your next piece, put it in, and you do the same thing. And we do all of them the same way. So then that way I don't bore you. Let me go ahead on and do it all, and then I'll get back to you about the rest of it. All right, YouTube. After you season everything up, it should look just like this. Look at that. Don't that look delicious? All right, so now that I have it all done, I have it layered, and what it's going to do is we're going to add 2 cups of water to our pan. And what you want to do is you want to put it on the side so that way you don't wash the seasoning off of the meat, okay? And the purpose of putting the water in is so that as it's broiling in the oven, it could also boil it. So then that way you're baking it and boiling it at the same time, all right? So what I did is I preheated my oven to 350 degrees. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna put our meat in the oven for 2.5 hours, all right? Just remember, 2.5 hours, we're gonna put it in, and then what we're gonna do for the first 2 hours, we're gonna put it in the oven covered for that period for 2 hours, and then afterwards, we're gonna check it for tenderness, and then once it gets a little bit tender, then we're gonna take the cover off and leave it for about 15 to 30 minutes so it'll not have a nice brown color to it, okay? And I'm gonna show you how to do that. All right, but before we put it in the oven, if you have the time, you let this, after you marinate it, let it sit for at least an hour before you put it in the oven, all right? But if you're a busy person like me, you need to get to it, put it in now, all right? So let's put it in the oven, cover it, and then we'll be back, and I'll be back in about 2 hours, all right? All right, YouTube, look at how it turned out. You see, doesn't that look delicious? All right, let's see. Delicious, nice and tender, juicy. It doesn't need any sauce. A good piece of meat doesn't need any sauce added to it after it's cooked. Absolutely delicious. Oh man, you're gonna love it. Don't forget YouTube, like and subscribe below. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Tell somebody you like about, about our channel. Cooking with G Dubs, and again, I'm your host, G Dubs. And you guys, as you can tell, I'm speechless. All right, it's absolutely magnifique, delicious, wonderful. So check it out, and until the next video.